Welcome to my first online book club series. I am Jane Natalie. I've been working with teachers online through my Facebook page, Jane Natalie Coaching. For the next 3 weeks, I will be posting video summaries and discussion questions of each module of John Hattie's new book, The Distance Learning Playbook. Today, I will be summarizing Module 3, Teacher-Student Relationships from a Distance. This chapter delves into the characteristics of strong teacher-student relationships. As we shift between in-person and remote teaching, we need to be mindful of how we develop relationships both in school and online. The chapter outlines suggestions for developing each of the following 5 characteristics, and our conversation can center around brainstorming more ideas to develop relationships virtually, as well as what free tools we have to help us facilitate that development. Teacher empathy is developing a real connection with your students. The authors suggest beginning your lessons with something positive or funny, making sure you hold virtual office hours so that students can pop in and ask questions, and scheduling short check-in conferences with students and families. Unconditional positive regard means you actually care about students as people. You are going to include students' interests in lessons, providing polls and feedback surveys at the end of the lessons to show that you care about their input, and use voice recording to personalize feedback so they're not only using static text. Your genuineness is your care about yourself as a professional. Do you dress and groom professionally and look like the role of a teacher? Be optimistic about the students and yourself, and be clear through your words and your actions that your classroom is a place for learning about yourselves, the world, and each other. Non-directivity means that you hold your students' abilities in high regard. You have individual conversations about their goals, their strengths, and their growth areas. When you ask questions, it's genuinely to mediate student thinking, not just ask leading questions. And you share decision-making about the curriculum with your class. And then encouragement of critical thinking fosters discussion among peers. You make sure you include opportunities to write about, illustrate, or discuss thinking with peers during every lesson. And you build choice and make sure that your assignments and projects are relevant. This chapter then proceeds with a warning that when a teacher dislikes and shows that dislike for a student, the other students can readily identify that poor relationship. This can be displayed by reprimanding only one student for a behavior other students also display. Online, we also see it manifesting in how the mute controls are used during synchronous video calls. Teachers should be going out of their way to equally develop positive relationships with all students. An example from the text to prevent this was provided that said a teacher who planned 2 spotlight conversations during each class period, in which students would share interesting things and participate in a question and answer with the teacher. This made sure all students were showcased as being valued. This is one technique to help prevent what the authors call a chilly classroom, one in which some students do not feel they are valued. The chapter ends with ideas to increase your touch points with all students, including having a system to equitably call on students, having whole and small group discussions, participating in asynchronous discussion boards, using tools to send messages, post photos, send newsletters, video directions along with your assignments, and using voice recordings to make your classroom more personal. It cannot be underestimated the power of taking the time to develop relationships. As our time in school will be limited, we must be intentional in the ways we get to know our students and develop and maintain positive relationships with each student in our classes. You know the deal by now. We're leading up to a live session on Thursday, August 27th, and we will be having an asynchronous discussion in the Reinventing Education Post-Pandemic Facebook group. I hope to see you there.